Hi there and welcome to this lesson. In this lesson we will be drawing a sickle. Right, so as per usual I'm going to start with a fill layer, use a grayish blue color. This is for my rough drawing. Press OK and press Ctrl I to invert the mask. B for brush, and then you can pick your own brush. I'm going to pick that brush, which is ink for pen rough. I like this brush. It's quite a nice brush to do these kind of drawings. Now, if you look at the sickle, you'll notice a few things. We've got a circle going, and then we've got a cylinder attached to that half circle. So we're going to simplify things. Now, to draw circles, it's always best to start off with a square. So I'm going to draw a square in there. I'm going to use those 3 blocks for my square. And then if you look at the sickle, you'll see that the circle is offset a little bit. So we're going to do the same for the blade part of the sickle. But let's focus on the blade part for now. So just drawing a block like that. Right, and then in that block we need to draw a circle. Now, if you followed my channel for quite a while now, you'll know that to draw a circle or any, a circle, I use a block and divide that in halves, halves, and halves. Then use that as a guide. So almost at a third, you're going to make a mark, a third, and a third there. And you want your circle to go through that third, like so. Right, so we've been doing that for quite some time now, but if you feel uncertain, please watch my YouTube video on drawing circles in isometric perspective. So we want to draw a circle in here. Mine is very rough. I don't mind it being a little bit rough. You know what? We don't need that actually. We don't need this. So let's keep that. Let's delete all of that. So right. Okay, you'll notice that my strokes are a little bit transparent. So if I press X on the keyboard, you'll see that my color jumps to black. This allows me to erase. And then when I press X again, it's going to swap the colors between back and foreground. So you'll see my back and foreground swaps here as well. But my color is not pure white. So if I switch it to pure white, you'll see it's going to be opaque. But if I use a grayish color, it's going to be transparent. So depending on how much closer to black you make it, will determine how much transparent it's going to be. So it's up to you to choose the transparency. So I want to delete all of that again. Then let's focus on the sickle. Brush again. Let's make the brush smaller, about 7 pixels. That's about it. Now there's an inner circle within our sickle, which is kind of offset. So you can do another circle, draw another circle, or just eyeball it like I'm doing here. Right, and then for the handle, let's duplicate this layer by pressing Ctrl J, and then Ctrl A to select everything, to select all, and then press delete on the keyboard to delete the rough drawing. Then we're going to draw a cylinder. So for the cylinder, we also need a little block like this. And mine is rough. You can make yours much neater. Right, so there we go. and then that circle again, and that circle again. And then if you look closer, you'll see that we've got a copper ring to fasten the blade part into the handle. So let's do that again. So we want another circle in there, and then a bigger circle for where the handle goes a bit thicker. So a big circle, slightly smaller circle, and you'll see that it goes thinner near the end. So we can make that even smaller. And then the handle widens again. So we've got the copper bit there, and the handle goes wider, narrower, wider, narrower, and then it ends in that ball shape at the end of the sickle. Okay, so why I'm doing this on a separate layer is so that I can move this to where I need it. So I want it around there, and we want the blade to come into the handle about there. So let's see, it comes there, and you'll notice that it is offset like our reference. So my handle is not directly in the middle of the sickle, but slightly offset, so that part protrudes, and this helps us cut the grass or the wheat or whatever grassy thing you are cutting. Okay, and then we need to also include this sharpened bit. So let's draw half a circle, or half the blade's width we want to draw in a guide. Right, let's put those two together by pressing Control. So select both layers by pressing Shift on the keyboard and clicking on the layers, and then Control G to group that as a single group. And you can rename this to rough drawing. Okay, and then lock it. Create another fill layer. This time we're going to pick a black. Press OK, and then press D on the keyboard to set the colors to default. Press I to invert your colors. Right, like so, and then press B for brush. And if you can't draw, you'll see that it's going to be on the black. Press X on the keyboard to swap it to white, and now you can draw. Okay, so this is the nice part, the easy part. Okay, you can make your drawing as neat as you want. I'm gonna make mine not that neat. It's gonna be a bit on the rough side. I'm not trying to follow my lines too exactly, too neatly, so to give it that hand-drawn look. Okay, I press Ctrl Z to undo if I feel that I've made too much of a mistake. Right, now keep these lines a little bit lighter, pressing the light on the pen to make it thinner. And to give your sickle character, press X on the keyboard and insert a few notches and damage to your blade. Few scratches, nicks. Right, and the same for the handle. So we want to mimic the idea of wood, the texture, wood texture. And then we can also add a few deep scratches here. Try to follow the contour of your handle, so scratches won't be straight all the way. So especially on the edge here, it will follow the contour of the handle. Right, that's about it. And now that I look at it, I think the blade can be slightly bigger. Use your lasso tool, select the blade part, press Ctrl T, then move that target to one of the points, and then click one of the blocks, and then Shift and Alt to make sure that it scales proportionally. So I think that should do the trick. Then press X on the keyboard, B for brush, X on the keyboard to erase and add. Okay, to make the line thicker, duplicate your layer, press Ctrl A and then press delete to delete everything. Right, so and then Ctrl D brush, make the brush one size bigger, and then let's add a thicker outline. And that's how you draw a sickle. So let's add a bit of color to that. Let's group that, Ctrl G, and rename that drawing. Right, pick your magic wand, click on the outside of your drawing, then select, so let's invert the selection first. Select, invert selection. Okay, now I've done that, so let's deselect that. Whoops. I'll fix that. Then select. No, we want to shrink the selection a little bit. Select, shrink selection, shrink by 2 pixels so that our selection goes underneath the drawing. Then fill layer. Let's pick a bluish gray color for the blade. Right, okay. So let's call this blade fill. Duplicate that layer. Let's call this handle fill. Right, and then right click the layer properties and pick a wood color, something like that. Now with your selection still, okay, so let's deselect that and select the handle and press delete on the keyboard to delete that. And we want to change this color as well to that copper color. Right, and then fill layer. Something like that. Okay. Maybe we change the blade color to something slightly lighter and desaturated. The wood a little bit darker and more brown. And maybe the copper slightly more yellow. Yeah, I think that should do the trick. And that's how you draw a sickle. So let's put the colors into one layer, Control G, fills. So that's the drawing, and let's put all of it together, Control G, and rename sickle. Okay, I'm going to duplicate that layer, and let's Control E to make it a single layer. Now if you press Control T and flip horizontally or mirror like that, you can have a sickle in the other direction. And that's how you draw a sickle in isometric perspective.